Hey Jen, I really like your hair.
Thanks, Becky.
I think the curls are awesome. Black hair's the best.
Ah! Can you not do that? It's kind of inappropriate.
What? Why?
Well, it's kind of racist.
You're probably wondering what went wrong in this workplace interaction between Becky and Jen. Unless you have a
There's a lot of things wrong with Becky and Jen in a situation, but one of them is actually the use of the word racist. My name is Joed Lopez. I'm from panvisio.org. Thanks for checking out this video. And if you know me, you know that this issue of the use case and defining racism is a big deal for me. It's huge. And it kind of is pissing me off a little bit. Why? Well, because when it comes to a social topic like this, that's so sensitive, that is so sensitive to talk about in any context, you would think we would have a better handle on the definition of the word racism. But we don't. We really don't. And so over the years, this word has kind of jumped and made leaps and bounds in what it means. And it's gotten to the point where just based on this interaction, you can see that it means different things to different people. So, for example, if you met Becky on the street, what's up, Becky? And asked her, define racism, Becky would say, oh, racism is hating someone because of their color of their skin or something traditional textbook. You hate the person or you think they're inferior based on the color of their skin or their race or whatever. That's usually give or take. And when you said hey, provide an example of racism, they will just go to the people who put on the pillowcases on their head and burn crosses at night, and the KKK. That's their go to. That's pretty much a stereotype of racism and how to explain it or give an example for it. Jen, on the other hand, defines it in a different way. Jen defines it as basically anytime you do something or say something that is, either offensive or inappropriate or lack cultural sensitivity or context, and you do it based on their skin color or the texture of the hair in this case, or their background from being an experience as a person of color. And usually you got to have some form of power dynamic there too. And they include power. So typically, a white person has power. Therefore, in this kind of exchange, they think that they have the power to just go up randomly and touch your head. And that's racist because they're white. They think they have the privilege to do that and it's cool. Normally, if you go to just touching their hair, they might think it's kind of strange. But you do it to a black person, it's cool because I'm white and I'm giving you a compliment. So I could touch your hair. And so there's this weird power dynamic there that in this case is subtle, but in most cases, there's a definitive line of power. Police, education, people of color go to, detention more, especially that they actually broke it down to skin tone. The darker you are, the more likely you are to go to detention. And so the elements of the definition of racism go beyond just hating someone or thinking someone is inferior. There's all these subtle nuances and things that you don't even have to be conscious of your racism to be considered racist. And so all over higher ed are these the reclassification of words. And racism is the top one. And I think it's super dangerous that we take the word racism and we don't require there to be a level of consciousness and awareness, or two, that it doesn't require not just a consciousness or awareness, but that it requires power. like you have to belong to a group of people that have power to be called racist. And that's why you might be hearing more and more that it's impossible for black people to be racist because they have no power. And so Becky is kind of in this exchange feeling really embarrassed and like offended. And this video is about white fragility, which is a real thing. But in this particular case, man, when you're using the word racism or race, you're racist, they're thinking, but I love black people. They might even say the stereotypical thing, which I literally heard someone say in a podcast. I did a podcast bonus content talking to a white person that my best friend is black. Like, this is the real stuff they say. And so my point in all this, and kind of bringing this home with this video, is that if we care enough about these issues, we should, give a damn about how we define these words. And then if you care about these issues and if you're like gung ho, like the definition of racism is prejudice plus power. This person has a positive prejudice towards her hair, and she is a person in power because she's white and she, has an elevated status in society, stereotypically, and even if it's subconscious, being a white female, then she is racist by definition, and by acting out on this situation, trying to touch her hair, that's a racist act, even if she doesn't know about it. And so again, if you're going to believe that, then you got to break that down and qualify that, because white people don't know. And that's the thing that pisses me off, is that how do you expect white people to understand how these definitions evolved when they don't even understand the situations at all? Sometimes they don't even understand the history of what's going on. And so that's the thing that kind of gets under my skin, no pun intended, my brown skin, is that when the time we talk, and then here's the counter argument. Well, white people need to learn. White people need to have other white people teach them and show them, because black people can't. We just don't have the time or the energy. And all I say to that is, there's not enough white people letting white people know about what's going on. And we do got to let white people know what's going on. And when we say something like you're racist, we got to unpack that and say it's not racist like you're part of the Ku Klux Klan. It means that you're, belonging into, and you explain that. Personally, I don't think we should put prejudice and power and define that as racism. I think we should stick to a traditional definition, and then just call this cultural insensitivity. Call it ignorance, call it prejudice, call it everything else. But to call it racist, I think we're stretching that word. And we're actually diluting the impact. So you could throw out the word racist without backing it up or defining it. And then all you're left is just people hollering at each other because that white person knows that they're not racist. I don't belong to the Ku Klux Klan, so you're wrong. And, and they just kind of, last time they engage with a person of color when it comes to these issues. And that's it. So what do you guys think? Why do we have to define racism as prejudice plus power? When did that happen? How did it happen? If you want to check out more, go to YouTube and go to joellopez.com. I actually have a blog post, one or two blog posts about it. Not a long read at all, where I kind of go into a superficial sampling of the Webb's definition, the interwebs definition of racism, and all kinds of variations. So you go to joellopez.com, click on blog, and scroll down to a superficial sampling of the word racism, and check it out. Here it is. Okay. Superficial sampling. Okay. All kinds of definitions here, folks. All kinds. And it matters. I believe it definitely matters. This is Joel Lopez with panvisio.org. Have a good one. Talk to you soon, and check out penvisio.org. Check out the podcast, and hope to meet you or speak to you soon. God bless. Peace.